And he took that money and he bought a $90,000 Mercedes.
I pay $1,053 for this car.
I have 25 current active Affirm loans.
I hope everyone had a great New Year's. We've got one of the strangest stories I've came across in a while. Then, as always, debt, lots of debt, and some really bad decisions. Same patterns, same mistakes, just different people.
The false prophet Noah from Africa, who said God told him the earth would end in a flood on Christmas Day, has a ton of angry people. They even set one of his boats on fire. Thousands of people gave money and left their homes in hopes of getting on the ark that he built. And he took that money and he bought a $90,000 Mercedes. And of course, the world didn't flood. Now he's saying it's because God didn't tell him a specific year. People are angry at what he has done.
You really can't make this stuff up. We've got a guy wearing what looks to be a potato sack, buying a $90,000 Mercedes. We'll put the whole scam thing aside. I think everyone can agree that's wrong. This guy looks broke, but that's how most people actually are. They have these nice luxury cars, but underneath it all, it's the same potato sack, just covered up with monthly payments.
You have a Jeep right now with 45,000 miles on it that you're looking to trade in.
Yeah, definitely has a negative. I owe like 47 on it. I know they have the value. I bought it on 2022. It's not a lease. I wish it was. At this point, and ready to get out of that car. My main goal is to try to roll that negative equity into something.
You have 20 grand of negative equity. That's the problem. On a 3-year lease, that in of itself is like a $500 payment. What's your monthly budget for a lease, tops?
Right now, just to be sincere, I pay $1,053 for this car.
$1,053 just for the Jeep payment. Add in insurance, fuel, maintenance, he's easily spending $1,500 a month. I honestly can't understand how that makes sense to anyone. That is more than half of what I spend on all my living expenses combined.
I would love to go way below that if I could.
You cannot. You would have to get some kind of a cheaper Nissan or a Mazda just to even have a payment similar to what you have now. I don't usually say this in these scenarios, but given the alternative,
It's better to stick to it.
yeah, because think about it. You bought the car in 2022. This is your 3-year anniversary with the vehicle. I'm going to assume you took a 6-year loan. That's just the most common. You have 3 years left. It's the equivalent of a 3-year lease. Because you're almost done and because the negative equity is so big, if you took a similar payment to drive a downgrade essentially and be at the same payment, it makes no sense.
So he still has to pay another $38,000 over the next 3 years. That brings the total on a 6-year loan to over $76,000 for a Jeep. The funny thing is they all look the same. From one year to the next, they're basically identical. So why not just buy a used one for $10,000 or $15,000 and keep the rest of the money?
And getting you into a lower payment is almost impossible.
Yeah.
Whereas if you keep the car for 3 more years, it's probably going to have 90,000 miles on it, but then you can actually sell it and maybe get at least $15,000 back, or maybe $20,000.
That makes sense. Thank you for being honest and just letting me know.
Of course.
I think that's probably what I'm going to have to do.
After you finish paying off the loan, the car is now yours. Every month, every year that you no longer have a car payment essentially makes up for the fact that you've been paying so much every month.
What he said there was actually interesting. Every month, every year, you don't have a car payment. It starts to make up for how much he's overpaid. If he's lucky, maybe he'll be 20 grand in the hole. By the time that Jeep can't even be driven anymore. So why not skip the debt altogether, buy something with cash and actually get ahead?
I have $30,000 in credit card debt and I think like $14,000 in student loan debt, and I have $6,000 left on my car payment. And I would never spend the money that I got from a TikTok live paying off my debt. If I got even $500 from a TikTok live, I'm sorry, that money is going towards my life.
With that much owing, any money she gets should be going towards debt. But it's that type of thinking that's going to keep her in debt.
That money is going towards my savings. That money is going towards like a short-term saving, like things that I need money for in the immediate future. How many times do we just throw all of our lump sums, all of the money that we get at our debt for it to just rise back up again because we have an emergency, because something happens and we don't have a savings account? The girl who was going live until she could pay off her student loan debt, I think somebody was saying she made $20,000. Like, bitch, if I make $20,000, you would never see me again. If that was just cash in hand and I had done really like nothing, like not my salary. I'm sorry, my Nelnet, my student loan provider, they are not seeing a penny of that.
You do need an emergency fund, but what she doesn't understand is that she's losing money while calling it saving. Every extra dollar sitting in savings is costing her interest on the debt. She should be putting everything she can towards debt first, because that immediately reduces how much interest she's paying. Once the debt is gone, saving gets easier and faster. And you make up for that lost time when the interest stops working against you.
I am thoroughly disgusted with myself because I just added up how many Affirm loans that I have, and I have 25 current active Affirm loans with a total balance of $3,357.83. So if you saw my video a while ago, you know that my minimum payments that I owe in a month, or at least for the month of September, was around $800 to all of my various Affirm loans that I have.
She's got 25 Affirm loans. She's buying things she can't afford and spreading them across payments. And that is exactly what these companies are designed to do. They make debt feel painless, small, and manageable. So people keep swiping, clicking, and stacking payments without slowly realizing they're burying themselves.
So using the snowball method and kind of getting on top of everything, I've decided that because a lot of these have high interest rates and they're smaller kind of little chunks, as soon as I satisfy all of my minimum payments for the month, I'm going to start tackling all of these Affirm loans. And so I actually paid one off yesterday when I made my Affirm payments as one of my minimum payments, but I have a few that I can start knocking out that are on its last payment. So I'm interested to see how September will go. And September technically started with 26 Affirm loans, and I want to know how many you think I'll have at the end of the month. So let's follow along on this journey together.
With her having 25 active ones, that's a habit that's going to be hard to break. These companies make it way too easy. I see it on Amazon all the time. Things that only cost a few $100s are suddenly offered in monthly payments. That's how things that should be a normal purchase turn into long-term debt.
All right, y'all, so it happened. First of all, Happy New Year. Second of all, my American Express card was cut off about 3 days ago. And when I say I panicked, I went into like a full-blown panic. I found out because Apple Pay sent me a text message that said, this credit card is no longer available to use for Apple Pay. And my entire body went numb. And the panicking thoughts of, how am I gonna pay for anything? How am I gonna go grocery shopping? For the first time in a really long time, I got to really, like $100 goes real fast.
Spending can feel different when it's debit or cash because you actually feel it. The money leaves immediately, so your brain registers a loss. Credit doesn't do that. It delays the pain, which makes spending easier.
We went to Walmart and then we went to Publix, and pulling out my debit card to pay for $30 worth of stuff from Walmart and $70 worth of stuff from Publix, I have so many questions going around in my head, like, I shouldn't be using cash for this. I should be using a credit card. I should be getting points from the grocery store. What am I doing? I don't know anything about finances. So I have some savings, but is that what I'm going to buy my groceries with? What in the world? I got to get my own credit card. There's so many questions in my head of, you got to grow up and learn how to be financially independent. And I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to teach y'all all about it as I go.
It seems like a lot of people see credit as part of their income. They don't treat it like borrowed money. They treat it like money they've earned. And that's how spending gets out of control. It doesn't feel real when you swipe that card. The problem only shows up later. And by then, the bad habits are already there.
I am 65 years old. I have made absolutely horrible decisions with money all my life. I have no nest egg. My wife has maybe $10,000 in a 401k, and I've got maybe a couple thousand. And we have started the steps. Just last payday, we got our $1,000 emergency fund paid, and we also got $200 paid down on our smallest unsecured debt. So now it's only $150 left. I've got 2 other credit cards and a car loan and a mortgage. Total debt, including mortgage, is $137,000.
I'm hoping I haven't done this clip already. I look at so many of these, it's hard to keep track. If I have, I apologize. But this is exactly what I'm trying to avoid. He's in his 60s, still in debt, and no real plan to get by. That's the stage of life where you should be relaxing and enjoying retirement. not trying to figure out how to dig yourself out of debt.
The mortgage is a 15-year fixed rate. It's set up to be paid half a payment every 2 weeks. So in 12 months, I've actually paid 13 payments instead of 12. And since we don't have anything lined up for retirement, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way for me to go. Make sure I get out of all debt with everything I've got. I found out that if I pay just $425 towards my principal each month on my home, I can have it paid off in 5 years.
Are you both working still?
Yes, sir.
What do you make?
The two of us together will make about $105,000.
Good news. Okay.
First time we've ever broke $100,000.
Good for you. Okay.
Being that age and still trying to get out of debt must be exhausting, but it's a reminder that debt doesn't care about age. If you don't deal with it early, it'll follow you into the years that are supposed to be the easiest. That's where money is supposed to get simpler, not harder. And time is one thing you don't have on your side anymore.
Well, what I would do is just leave the bi-weekly mortgage alone, let it run, and let's work the baby steps. Your $1,000 is there. Baby step 2 is listing your debts smallest to largest, the $22,000. You need to be done with that in under a year. $2,000 a month at least needs to be going on your debt, not counting your house.
Okay.
So I want you on beans and rice and beans. In 1 year, you're 66 and you're debt-free. Then you build an emergency fund, debt-free except the house. You build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, and then we spend the rest of the time finishing off the house and starting to build a nest egg. So basically,
Okay.
You're like 72 years old still working, and you'll probably have about $200,000 in your nest egg. The house will be paid for, and you'll be debt-free.
So the plan is for him to work till 72, hopefully be debt-free by then, and have around 200 grand for retirement. That's just hoping nothing goes wrong. One big medical issue and it's all gone. And 200,000 isn't going to last very long. And that's how people end up never really retiring. Save, budget, invest early so this won't be a situation you're in. If you want to see more, you know what to do. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.